excited for where this one's going to go. I've got some notes, but I'm kind of going to let this flow and see where it goes. It's Catflap Chats, episode 86. I am fascinated about this today. I've got David Buttress with us, chairman of Dragons Rugby, founder and CEO of Just Eat formerly. You've done loads of other stuff, investor, entrepreneur. I was trying to do a bit of background on you, and there's not loads out there, so you're gonna have to fill me in on a few bits.
A lot of money to keep it out there.
Yeah. Normally everyone's got a Wikipedia page, but yours before Just Eat is quite quiet. So hey, look, delighted to have you on. Thank you for coming on.
No worries, man.
What's news in your? I do what? Tiny Rebel, one of your Newport companies down there. They send me a couple of beers every episode, so I'm gonna crack open a beer and.
Good for you. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for coming on. What's news in your world, pal? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a great brand, Tiny Rebel. Actually, done a good job, haven't they? It's
really they're good as gold.
They probably need a bit more of that. No, I'm good. I'm sort of I'm sort of like everybody really. I'm slightly doing my head. I've got 3 kids under 10, so you can imagine lockdown, whatever number we're on 3 now, is kind of felt a bit.
Yeah.
But especially after Christmas, it felt a bit. Oh my God, really? Because as we all know, I thought they were going to be going back to school, but it's been kind of strange because from an investor perspective, like it's been good. Like my investments, actually, a lot of them have benefited. If you look at food delivery, for example, it's grown like mad. If I look at like sort of family level, everyone's been really disciplined and touch wood been okay. So that's been okay compared to people. And then third, I've got the rugby thing, which has been really difficult, right? Because we've lost crowds and all the things people have seen documented. So that's been like sort of juggling several balls at the same time, trying to sort of path a course to the rebuild after COVID, at the same time making sure that we all in professional rugby get through COVID. So it's been sort of a mixed thing, really, I guess.
I suppose, I can't wait to get stuck into the Dragons in a bit, and there's tons I want to talk about, and you can say what you want, and you don't have to mention names if you stories and stuff. You kind of flow with it however you want. I want to just learn a bit more about you and how did you get into that position, into Just Eat and then into the Dragons? Like, what was your background before that? I saw there was Coca Cola and a few other bits. Like, what was your journey through that? Through work, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm a great example that you don't need to have a plan. So I left Cwmbran when I was 18, went to uni in London, and then joined Coca Cola as a graduate trainee at 21 in West London, and I loved it. I probably would have stayed there. I spent 7 years. My last job was heading up the UK restaurant industry business for them in the UK and Ireland, and worked with people like the founders of Nando's and Adam and Steve from Ask and Pizza Express and the restaurant group, and I loved it. And the Nando's guys were brilliant. I saw Nando's go from, I remember we did the first installation of Coke equipment from one store all the way up to the hundreds of stores that you now see all around the UK. And they had, like a lot of successful things you see in life, they were brilliant people. First and foremost, they were brilliant people. So it wasn't a surprise to see them go on that journey. And then because of that, really, like I say, it wasn't a plan. I always wanted to start my own business. And then at 28, 29, I was in a pub with a Danish guy called Jesper Buch, who was the leading founder of Just Eat, and we became friends. We had a few beers. I think we ended up in a Nando's, oddly enough. Nando's theme in my life. And then Jesper said we should start this business in the UK, and Just Eat that was. And I was 28, 29, and I didn't have any kids. I think we just about got a mortgage, and it didn't feel like a brave decision. So I quit my job. I had a really cool boss that said, "Listen, Dave, go and do that for a year. If it doesn't work out, there'll probably be something back here." Yeah. So it was like some really big entrepreneurial leap of faith. It was like, I felt quite relaxed about giving it a go. So then we Just Eat on St. David's Day, 2006, we opened in the UK. And it, obviously we had ups and downs, but I think most people that obviously it turned out all right.
Were you ready for that? Like, I can imagine working for a brand like Coca Cola, you pick up so much in the training and what it gives you, not just from a work perspective, but as a person. But then jumping into your own thing from scratch with the help of others, like, is a completely different kettle of fish. Like, how prepared were you, and how much did you have to learn on the job?
That's a brilliant. I'll tell you what. I was definitely prepared for how to build and operate things professionally. Coke was a fantastic training school. They invested insane amounts of money on training, which was great. back in the day. So I was definitely ready to run and manage and lead because I'd been running teams at Coke. I guess where I was probably, what I didn't realize is like when you do your own thing, it's really hard work. And
Yeah.
you think it's going to be really exciting being an entrepreneur and starting your own thing. And actually it's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I was working 70, 80 hours a week. I was, we were two guys. We were like, there's 3 men and a baby.
Yeah.
We were 2 men and a laptop, and we had to do everything from customer care. So we're ringing out orders to restaurants, to signing up restaurants. We were doing everything. We were very much a bootstrap business running out of a flat in East London. So, it was tough. No holidays for years. It's not like an old get the violin. It was pretty brutal the first few years. I have to say, we probably bootstrapped it too long. We should have raised money earlier, but we were 28, 29, first time entrepreneurs. So we didn't think there was a concept, we'll go and raise money from people. We just thought, well, we just got to do it for us. We'll do everything ourselves. We'll try and make money, and any money we make, we'll just reinvest back into the business and grow. And that's what we did. Which in one way was good, in another way was a bit naive, really, because we should have raised money earlier from investors, and then we could have grown a lot quicker, a lot sooner. But we didn't know what we didn't know, so you just crack on. And I ended up with Dragons because when I exited, the then CEO of Welsh Rugby Union, Martin Phillips, I think there was an interview with me in the Sunday Times or something, and there was like one of those classic sort of interview questions going, what job would you have liked to done if you hadn't sort of done Just Eat or whatever? And I said, I'd want to be the Welsh outside half.
Yeah.
And Martin read that, and I obviously connected the dot that I was probably Welsh and all the rest of it. And he just reached out to me, I think via LinkedIn or something, and just said, look, I'm Martin Phillips from the Welsh Rugby Union. Can we have a conversation? So I had a cup of coffee with him at the Majeski Stadium in Reading, and about the Dragons. And I was a local boy. My dad's from Malpas in Newport. He kind of had me at hello, I guess.
That's quite a nice story, to be fair. There's no like, I don't know, there's no like big build up. It's kind of just I'm free, this is available, I love Gwent, in you come.
Yeah, I'm that easy.
one coffee and it's done. Like
a coffee and I'm done.
What was that journey for Just Eat like? Because that's obviously blown up into, you've got obviously Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats. Just Eat is number one in the market. Yeah?
Yeah, we were the first mover, mate. Yeah, so we're number one in the market. We're the market leader. That's right.
What was that journey like from starting it up to obviously CEO and leaving in, was it 2017? Like that's a fair old shift for a company, and to head that up from the beginning. What more did that give you?
It was dog years, mate. It took its toll, right? When I left in the January 17, maybe I'll start with the good stuff. Look, I have to say, I loved it, right? Of course I did, and it was a brilliant. I miss the people still. It was a great crowd. We had 2,000 people in the end. Like a family. One of the things we said when we built the company was we wanted the culture to be authentic. So what I didn't like about Coke was a very corporate culture.
Okay.
And Jesper, the co-founder, the leading founder of Just Eat, also came from sort of more corporate-y stuff. And we were like, let's just make Just Eat, whatever it becomes, whether it fucking works or whether it doesn't.
Yeah.
People at work here say it's fun, it's irreverent, it's authentic. So let's just be who we are in our everyday lives, but be very driven. We want to succeed, but at the same time, let's not put the corporate BS into this company. So we kept it very authentic, and it was a very flat structure. Like, there was no hierarchy, and yes, there were titles, but people will tell you at Just Eat, people would use my office, and if there was someone who used my office, I'd just go and sit at the desk outside. So there was no standing on ceremony, and I copped a fair amount of stick for being bald, Welsh, you name it. I copped a fair amount, internally, and I think that was part of the culture because we wanted to have that irreverence.
Yeah.
I loved all that. It was the people that I loved. And of course, building a company and a tech company globally, we ended up buying businesses in Brazil, in Australia, in North America. So all that stuff was super exciting professionally. And obviously I took the company public onto the London Stock Exchange.
Yeah. We
did the biggest tech IPO that had been in London for a decade at the time. So, it was all that stuff was amazing. But at a personal level, So on a professional level, you'd go, wow, this is all great. At the personal level, it just took its toll, man, because as I say, I was naive. I was a first-time entrepreneur. I was a FTSE CEO when I was 36, and there was nobody tells you how to do that. You know, I had to learn on it, and I just was so conscientious and felt a massive burden of responsibility to like make sure that gave the shareholders a good return on their investment, made sure I looked after the staff. I did feel that. I mean, I think I wore it lightly internally, but I definitely, when I went home at night, I did feel it. And so when I got to 40, I think that was, or 41, loads of things fell apart at home, my marriage, there was loads of things going wrong. And I just couldn't put it right. So I had all this stuff going well professionally. And my life was sort of tail spinning.
Suffering.
Tail spinning, a bit of a fucking mess, really. And I just didn't know how to put it right, because I'd had my eye off that ball and very much focused on this ball. I remember going to the chairman in the Christmas of 2016 and saying, listen, man, I need to get out. I can't fix this. I can't, you know, I've got a young boy, you know, someone else is going to end up bringing up this kid, and I can't let this happen. You know, I haven't prioritized correctly, and I need to get out. So you know, they tried to give me some time, but I, you know, it's like when I'm one of those people that once I've made my mind up, I've made
once your legs are gone, they're gone, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It is 100%. Like I've seen it in work, and you know, I've probably got close to feeling it a couple of times. And once it's gone, it's hard to bring that fire and energy back in, no matter how much you pretend it might be there. Did you ever feel at any point, you know, as a 28-year-old, now what was I doing at 28? Like, I'm 35 now. I think I was single, living in the Bay, probably on Tinder or something. Yeah, probably. I mean, take me back, mate. But I was probably on Tinder or something, like trying to enjoy myself, right? I wasn't starting companies or at the top of my game in Coca Cola. Did you ever feel like you're almost like imposter syndrome? Like, how have I got here at such a young age and flown through it? Or were you one of those people that kind of took it in your stride with an incredible work ethic, but it just came to you and you were able to deal with it?
Yeah, I got to be honest, mate. I never felt like an imposter, because I saw it for what it was. To me, it was I saw it for what it was. The job title didn't mean anything. I saw it as, you know, I saw it from sort of a life of Brian perspective. You know, as you probably know from my background, you know, I was, you know, that single parent upbringing in Cumbraman, council house. You know, I honestly saw it like that. You know, I started with nothing. If I end with nothing, I haven't lost anything. Yeah. I was honestly only concerned that I give it my best fucking shot, that I do the best I can do. And the one thing my mum always drummed into me is you do your best, and just really your best. You're not kidding anyone, including yourself. You really do your best. That's good enough. And so I just thought, you know, I never thought like, should I be here? And when I was a FTSE CEO, I thought, what's that anyway? All it means is the company's got public market investors. You know, it doesn't really mean anything. It's a grand title. I had all these bankers that started laughing at my shit jokes. I was like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Because I knew, you know, in the end, I had the same mates I've always had. You know, my brothers still ripped me to shreds. There was like nothing at the substance level ever really changed, apart from the fact I screwed my marriage up. But you know, but apart from that, everything had stayed the same, apart from things like titles and the company being listed, which to me was, you know, it was nice, but it was never about that. I just cared, were we doing the right things? Was I doing my best? You know, and that was more focused on trying to build something that stood the test of time than I was worried about the rest of it. I honestly, even to this day, I couldn't care less about anything like that. I remember somebody said to me once, you know, because I've spoken quite a lot about Welsh independence and the fact that Wales should be an independent country. And I got told once, genuinely, this is a true story, you know, you should stop saying that stuff, because you're never going to get, like, you know, honored and all this kind of stuff for your achievements if you keep saying, honestly, it's a true story. Right? And I said to him, mate, I can give a shit. And I think he was shocked. You know, the guy, to be fair, the guy was trying to give me good advice and counsel. I said, mate, I can give you read me very wrong if you think that's what motivates me. So I think, you know, I kind of think of it like that, really.
I love your openness and candidness. I love the fact that you're not your success doesn't define you. You define you, and the success is of a byproduct of your drive, hard work, decision making, team around you, whatever it might be. Like I think too many people worry about the success and what that looks like, and does it look good on them, rather than maybe some more of the important things which you've just touched on there. So fair play to you for that, mate.
In the end, what matters, isn't it? Is when you, in the end, if we actually think about it, don't you think this? Like, if your mate say, I would rather my friend say he's a good mate, my brother say he's a good brother. You know, I know the people that I work with say he's a really good colleague. You know, he's a good person. Those are the things that matter. All the rest of it, honestly, I'm a good dad. My wife will tell you I'm a terrible husband. But I mean, those are the things in the end that when you come into your life, that you think, those are the things that are going to be like, you look back and think, oh, actually, do you know what? I did all right. It was all right. If you get focused on the other stuff, you get to the end of your life and it's like that stuff is meaningless crap.
It's mad, but we live in a generation now, in a society where everything is governed by how many likes on Facebook or social media you get, because then that's seen as the hierarchy of how popular and how cool you are, or how much you can market that. I'm in the business, you know, you're in the business of trying to draw people in and give sponsors back, you know, return on investment, shareholders, whatever it might be. But like, you're completely, like last night I had a text off one of my mates and we were chatting. He's a great guy, right? And I did some stuff before Christmas. He texted me, and how are you, pal? I said, oh, I'm right, mate. Yeah, just fucking struggling on, like, just boring, innit? And he goes, as long as you're right, pal, you know, every hero needs a fucking pat on the back as well. And I was like, shut up, you stupid fucker. But it made my fucking night that, like, I've got good people around me, so no matter what happens, you know, hopefully don't lose my job, whatever, I've still got good people around me, and with that, you can kind of get somewhere in life, and that grounding you've got keeps you level-headed.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good call about like the social media stuff, because there is a pressure with that. It's easy for me to say, you know, because, you know, I grew up the way I grew up with the values, you know, the mates I've got with my brothers, you know, so and a very clear sense of prioritization as well for my mum, who had, you know, clear values around what mattered in life. And when you, and I don't know, when you go up with a humble, you know, sort of from a humble background, you have perspective as well, right? So I know the value of a pound and things like that. So I don't get hung up on material crap. You know, I've lived life without money, and I've lived life with money, and I know in both scenarios I can be happy. So I don't worry too much about that. But I think you're right. There is a different pressure. I have a niece who's in university in Bristol, and I can see, you know, the social media pressure is real, right? And I can see I have a daughter, and she's young still. She's only 6, but you can see, you're right. The pressure to be liked and to have likes and social. It's easy for me. I don't give a shit about that, because I don't. I really don't. And it's water off a duck's back to me. I've got, you know, 3 mates. They're all idiots. So, you know, you know, they've never given me one like in 30 years. I don't think they can start now. But I think that is a real pressure that one shouldn't sort of just dismiss and not acknowledge as a pressure, because it is. And I do think as a society, we need to remember what is important, because that stuff isn't important. It really isn't. In the end, it isn't. And it's on parents, I think, as well, to make sure with kids, as they go through this pressure, you just alleviate it a bit, or educate them around it, or protect them, because it is crap in the end, right? And as we can see, it does cause a lot of problems, right? It really.
Definitely. My little girl's 7, and she's bang on at the moment into like TikTok and stuff like that. But her mum's quite level-headed with that, and was like, look, I don't, you know, we're both on the same page there. I don't want my daughter TikToking to random people that she doesn't know. And it's like, she's 7, like, sorry, let her be innocent still, play with Lego, be outdoors rather than be stuck in front of a screen, worry about what music is, you know, on the radio, but not necessarily what the music video looks like, which is all sexed up and makes 7-year-olds look 15 and 15-year-olds look 30. Like, it worries me a bit, because I know I grew up in Plymouth, and not a rough, I say rough area, but the street, we all knew each other, open doors, walk in and out, and everyone looked after each other, right? Yeah. But you see kids growing up now, and the cheek on them and the lip on them and the swagger, and they think they're cool because they got 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers. And I'm like, the fuck do you think you're talking to? Like, where's your values? And I know that makes me sound old, and I'm not perfect. I've messed up plenty of times in my life, which would be a whole nother pod. But my mum was probably a bit like yours.
What's your biggest mess up, honestly?
Oh, Jesus Christ. My biggest mess up.
That you can reveal.
Probably. I've had problems with drink and drugs in the past, where I've been in a real dark place at times. After my daughter was born and stuff, I've never really gone into it too much, to be honest. I pissed away a lot of money that I had over the years, trying to, I suppose, act the fool for everyone else's benefit and be liked. And actually, what did it leave me with? A load of debt, a good few problems. And at times, it was me on my own trying to fix it. But, we've come out the other side and we learn from that. And it helps you, I suppose, be the person that you are now, and you understand different people's perspective and stories. And as you're talking, bits of it resonate with.
How did you get out of that? Because that's quite tricky, right?
There's a big backstory, right? But just got to a point where one day I was going to go and pick my daughter up, and I couldn't. And I literally took that as a sign to say to a couple of people. One was a rugby player who was playing, and I knew he had a couple of quid, and I needed a couple of quid just to get out of a sticky situation. One was someone close to me through friendship and work and whatever. I suppose I just turned around and went, guys, I need help. And off the back of that, they kind of both went, you're an idiot, but there's a good person in there, so let's try and fix it. And that was a good few years ago now. And, I'm not perfect, but we're getting there, and, stable job, house, girlfriend now, daughter, like all the things that people enjoy and love, I've got all that. So I can't complain, but it makes you who you are. I'm quite resilient now. I've got a lot of resilience, and thankfully, some people see value in speaking to me, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the thing is there's no monopoly on it, right? And there's also risk of perception, is that people can perceive from the outside that everything is good, but the reality is everybody has stuff, right? There isn't a monopoly, and I think you've got to have that in mind, which is why I think a bit more consciousness sometimes, or a bit more thoughtfulness, mindfulness, or whatever around that stuff is important, because you don't know whether you genuinely don't, and it is a cliche now, and but I think it's a healthy thing for people to become more conscious of, that you don't know what that person is in on their plate. And so, and I think in the past people were very quick to judge. Social media can be extremely quick to judge.
Yeah.
And I never think human beings are at their best when they're being judgmental or judging. And I think that's one of the worst facets for me of social media. Is you see sometimes someone will make a mistake, and you'll see people just pile into it. Like they'll have strong views, they'll moralize, and they'll
yeah.
Like, what it is? It's almost biblical in its sort of visceral reaction, and it's like, come on, we got to be better than that, haven't we? We got to be better than that. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of humility around your own life is help us to judge others a bit better, I think.
Two things on that. So on the perception, I find that because I work for Capital FM and people see the badge and they see us at the boxes, whether it's at the Dragons, Blues, WRU, football, whatever, or they see us at the gigs, they think you live hell of a life, your job's easy, blah, blah, blah. Working in media is the hardest job I've ever had. It's by far harder than any construction recruitment I've worked in or any other jobs that I've had. There's no loyalty, and it's brutal at times. It's cutthroat, right? But people see Capital FM, your job's an absolute farce, I could do it. The amount of account managers I've seen come and go who don't last because it's harder than any other job they've ever had, even if they've been in media before. And then off the back of that, like into social media, and it's something I wanted to pick up on with you. Maybe we'll do it now. I saw like you getting into a discussion the other day about it was the naming for the Dragons, but just social media in general, right?
Don't bring that up. That's
no. So
the podcast is going to get destroyed.
But I'm like you.
This feed of like, oh no.
I don't care, like, because everyone's entitled to an opinion. It doesn't make them right, and their opinion doesn't necessarily mean it's better than the next person's. Okay, it could be more informed because it might not be quite as informed as the next person's, but everyone's voice should be equal as long as it's not derogatory and, with what Ashton has been going through and stuff like that. Yeah. What I find though with Twitter is like, you say something and it's just fucking hatred coming back at you. But lots of it isn't even like, I'm going to step away, look at this tweet and think about the actual, like what that tweet says. So it might be something around, I'm going to take the Cardiff Blues coming to Rodney Parade, right, to play their games. So I know a couple of people high up in the Blues. I know the players. I've chatted to them. I understand why that decision was made, that they came to Rodney Parade and not some of the things I've seen on Twitter, right? So Merthyr, Caerphilly, Sardis Road, fine, right? Then I started seeing fucking Lander Fields and shit like, and I'm like, oh my God, are you for real? Like, now maybe I am in a fortunate position where I do see the inside workings of pro sport sometimes.
Yeah.
So I was trying to say to someone, and I won't mention names because you'll know these people on Twitter. I was trying to say, like, it's going to cost them 50 to 100 grand, right? They need digital screens for sponsors. They need it to be COVID safe already. That's going to cost 50 odd grand or whatever. Needs to have, TV rights, security, blah, blah, blah. There's dog shit on Lander Fields, mate. Like, I don't know what you're on about. And the guy's going, nah, Caerphilly could hold it. Sardis Road could hold it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going, you're so out of touch with the modern pro game and the fact it's a business now and it's not the 12 teams or whatever it was back pre-region. It is a business now. It has to make money to survive. And like, these people are fucking firing in at me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you can get as nasty as you want. I laugh at it. You're all sat at home in your pants, never played a pro game in your life. Like, and not that I have, but I'm not the one slagging them either.
Yeah, I genuinely, you probably see for people who follow me on social media, one, I'll always engage. Like,
yeah,
it's like, first thing for me is, I learned at a young age, if you have people like bullying or throwing that stuff around, then you stand up to them. Because if you let them have that platform and you don't speak truth to power, then it's never healthy. And I think the second thing is, honestly, I just take it with, I actually enjoy it. Honestly, I genuinely enjoy it because I see it for what it is, right? Which is it's your opinion and it's my opinion. You can disagree with it, but it's not personal. I don't ever take it personal. Like, so for example, on the name stuff with the Dragons, of course, I didn't understand it properly when I first got involved. I was a local family. My dad lives in Malpas and, he goes to Rodney Parade all the time, but I took it with a pinch of salt. I thought, well, people can't be that ed up about it. Surely it was like 15, 20 years ago. And then you realize, my God, they are, right? And there's a lot of hurt in there. And you can get, and I kind of understand it because where the name stuff comes from, it comes from a place of, well, you've got 100, this is the club I supported. Let's say, take the example. So my club, I'm a Newport fan. I supported Newport. All of a sudden, I lost Newport as a sort of tier one professional team. It went to regional rugby in Wales, across all of Wales, and then called the Dragons or Newport Gwent Dragons. Yeah, I don't quite relate to that, or I don't relate to that the same as I do the old club that was Pontypool, Ebbw Vale, or Newport, and so people understandably get very emotional around it. But what I say to people most sincerely is, look, I hear you and I respect the history, but you've got to understand from my perspective, or you don't have to understand, but I'm telling you from my perspective, I can't live in the past. I can't do anything with that. Yeah. What I can do something is try and make the Dragons the best they can be. The same as I try to make Just Eat the best it could be. And I can do that. And will I listen? Always. Always. I enjoy going for a pint in a pub and listen to people, whether they want to come up to me and have a moan at me or whatever. No problem for me. I enjoy that. But at the same time, what I'm not going to do is be governed by it. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for the Dragons being better. And if people don't like that, then frankly, they can lump it. I'm not going to lose sleep. I'm not.
I think it's interesting seeing, obviously, the Dragons are still part owned by the WRU. And I don't know what your relationship is like with them as a chairman. I'm sure as a person, you fucking get on with everyone. But as a chairman and as the Dragons, I don't know what their relationship's like. But it's interesting that I see people like, because of the podcast, I'm in various Dragons groups on Facebook for my fucking sins. Scarlets, Ospreys and the Blues. And after every game, it is comedy going in there, screenshotting some of the stuff and just sending it to my mates in a WhatsApp group going, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I happen to know the CEO of the Blues, Reece Blumberg, and we're like best mates. So we're just chatting as mates, but obviously he's got that title. I'm just going, have you seen this? He goes, mate, I don't know what to say. Like, he like, it just baffles me, some of it. Like, and one of the things
but honestly, in Wales, we're not good at that stuff, right? In Wales, what we're not good at, and this is where the WRU, I think, and Welsh professional rugby didn't do a good job 20 years ago. Where people don't operate well in business, life, rugby, relationship, is when things are not clear. When things are either muddled or compromised, it never works, right? And why do I say that? Because I think when professional rugby, and I now understand it a lot better than I did when I got involved a couple of years ago, if I look back on how strategically Wales migrated to professional rugby, it was through a series of compromises and marginal decisions where there was probably fudges that were done to appease politics and local agendas. And in the end, that never works. It never works. So I'll give you an example in the business context. Sometimes when I bought businesses, and when I bought those businesses, of course, people selling them were emotionally connecting, like, oh, you're not just going to fold everything into your like Just Eat head office in Madrid, are you? Can't we keep our local office and everyone? And in my early transactions, I would be empathetic to that, and I would I would end up doing it, and it would never work, because what you'd end up with is 2 different offices. They'd end up against each other. They were siloed. Politics stepped into the vacuum, and I was like, oh, why did I ever create that? And then I learned from that actually what you need to create is clarity. And so in the other transactions and businesses I bought after that, I'd be like, look, I hear you, I understand how you feel, but no, that doesn't work. We're going to fully integrate the teams. There's going to be one office, which we just picked the best office. So we like, it could not, in some cases, they ended up not being our office. It doesn't matter. We're just going to have and you're all going to integrate at day one. And it ended up much better. And that, I think, is where Welsh rugby, going back to my analogy for Welsh rugby, that's kind of didn't do that and made a series of compromises, which have now led to things like the Facebook rooms you talk about, where you have one group of people talking about it should be like this, another group should be like this. It's like, well, what I'm going to do, mate, is I'm telling you, I'm going to be really clear. I want to take the Dragons into private hands, where I and a couple of other guys own it. And I think we're going to be very clear with people on day one. This is our strategy. This is what it looks like. And no compromise around that, because, you know, yes, there'll be people that agree or disagree, but in the end, I think people will hopefully at least respect the clarity of it and the chance that we'll hopefully give ourselves to build something. So I don't want to I'm not going to try and fudge it, or I just don't think it works. But it hasn't worked, does it? Because you go in those forums and, like you say, whether it's whatever, there's people still talking about stuff that frankly should have been resolved 20 years ago.
It's like, I can see just from your passion that you only want the best for the Dragons. However that looks, whatever that looks like, it's about the Dragons first and foremost. How can they be the best operating business, playing side, partner, whatever it is, right? What in an ideal world, what does that look like? I know that there's redevelopment plans for Rodney Parade, and I see people say, well, the Dragons get more funding than anyone else because they're WRU owned or whatever. Like, I see all the bullshit that comes out on social media. Like, what is your vision in an ideal world for the Dragons?
It's true. We get we get secret funding, but don't.
Yeah, I bet. The red phone, is it? The bat phone.
We're about to build an 80,000 all-seater stadium off the back of the additional funding that we get. So hopefully no one will get suspicious.
Those little brown bags.
Yeah, no. But actually, the truth is, as you know, the truth is the Dragons is the least funded of the 4. So that is the polar opposite. But yeah, look, I'm not here to. So look, I mean, look, people are going to do that now. I mean, you have to smile. In Wales, sometimes if we put as much energy into building things and getting behind things as we did to knock them down, I do wonder how much further we might all be along. Yeah. But anyway, you've got to not let that distract you. So I want the Dragons to be a sustainable professional sport model. What does that mean? It means I want us to. I'm not the kind of owner of the Dragons. I'm not going to look. Am I going to invest some money? Yes. Am I willing to lose a lot of money in professional sport? Absolutely not. For me, firstly, it's not a vanity project, and secondly, I know the value of a quid. I'm not going to be the kind of person who pours a lot of money. I don't believe in it, and actually, I don't really believe it would be the right thing for the Dragons, and I'll explain why. Because clearly, I'm not saying that just for a convenient thing for me. the trouble is with the benefactor model in professional sport, and look at professional football, look at rugby.
Yeah.
The day the benefactor gets fed up of losing money, the business is bankrupt, and for supporters and players and everyone involved, it's an absolute disaster. It could go out of business, it can go insolvent, it can reduce redundancy. So that's not as attractive as it might seem in the short term. It isn't a legacy that if I go under a bus or if I disappear or whatever, you need to be able to, whoever comes next can go, oh Christ, that guy left me a pretty good legacy. I can build from this. And that legacy needs to look like whatever we raise from commercial, ticketing, sponsorship, television, broadcast, performance, that our main revenue stream, developing players for the Welsh national team, whatever those, they need to support the costs. In other words, it needs to be a sustainable. So we never make money. So we're not in this business to make profit. That's not professional sport. We're in this business to drive as much investment as we can and make as much money as we can, so we can invest that into the rugby side of the business, which hopefully starts to create better performance on the pitch, which then attracts more sponsors, and you have a flywheel of growth from which hopefully there's a sustainable professional sports model for Newport and for Gwent and for our rugby team. And that's the legacy I want to leave. Do I think we're going to have to invest some money in the short term to get us to that point? Yeah, of course we are. But hopefully that then leads in the 3-year window to that kind of model I've described. And I'll definitely die trying, and I think that'll be a better legacy for Welsh rugby, because we underpunch our weight, right? We do underpunch our weight. I think Wales should be. I'm a bit annoyed we haven't won a World Cup yet, I have to say.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you see the success Wales has had under the Gatland era, and then you look at people saying about the performances in other regions, in most notably the Heineken Cup or against the Irish provinces, where budgets are obviously fucking different levels.
Yeah, but like we're in professional sport. People oversimplify it. I mean, you've got to look at the numbers. You know, Ireland is spending 40 million a year roughly on its 4 provinces, give or take change. You know, we spend just over half that. And in this COVID year, we spent 3, and we've had to get loans to get through it. So, you know, in the end, in professional sport, whether it's football, rugby, whatever, you do get what you pay for. So we do need to invest more in professional rugby in Wales, and professional rugby needs to govern itself. So we have a structure in Wales where, obviously, you know, the WRU is owned by its member clubs, and that's an historic thing. And the way the board is structured, of course, reflects that. But the reality is now, from a board perspective, professional rugby should govern itself. It shouldn't be governed by an historic governance structure like that. It doesn't make sense. So that is one thing, you know, as you rightly point out, I get on great with the guys at the WRU, and, you know, really well personally. Yeah. But I definitely disagree with them how the professional game should be governed. I think it should be governed, you know, by itself. And I think if you look across the world, that shouldn't be a controversial thing to say. The fact that it is, for me, worries me a little bit, right? It shouldn't be. It's just blindingly obvious for me.
Fascinating. How much input do you have? Like, what's it like being a chairman of a professional rugby club in Wales? Like, how much input do you have over transfers and signings? Because again, one of the other things I see quite often is people getting annoyed at. There was the rumour about Screech the other day, Matthew Screech, and that he's come through the Dragons. They've obviously paved the way for him to become a player, and then he goes off in his best years to another team potentially, and then they might come back then at the end of their career, for example. And I see that quite a bit, people whinging. Like, what's it like being the chairman, and like how much do you get involved in that side of things as well?
Yeah, so I think probably a bit like a CEO, really. So I understand, and I mean, obviously, I understand and I care about everything, and so I know what's going on, obviously, in all the different areas of the business, whether it be on the field or off the field. But you leave it to the experts, right? I think good leadership leaves things like, so we have a guy who's head of recruitment, who's responsible for comings and goings, and obviously Dean Ryan, as our director of rugby, leads on that, and rightly so. So, of course, I understand it. I know what's going on, but at the same time, I let them get on with it. Obviously, when they ask an opinion, I'll give an opinion. But, that's not my job to, and neither should I be. Do I love and enjoy watching rugby? Absolutely. But I sure as hell know I'm not qualified to start doing picking rugby players.
Yeah.
So I leave that to them. But on that point, though, I'm kind of pragmatic, you know. It's a bit like what Just Eat. If someone wanted to leave the company, all right, you know,
Yeah.
you know, people leave, people come, people go. I mean, it's a personal choice. It's, you know, if someone thinks they're better off down the road or somewhere else, I genuinely, sincerely wish them all the best and good luck to them. And you know, I think we're building something special. I think we've shown that we can attract some very talented people to the team the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
We continue to do that. And for people who don't want to be there for whatever reason, you know, it's okay, no issue for me. You know, good luck and all the best. We'll do our thing, you do your thing, and you know, I think people get too worried about it. The reality is, actually, I see it as an opportunity sometimes. So you might have a boy that's moving on or whatever, but actually what that really does is also then frees up some wages that you can perhaps go and bring some fresh talent in, or some fresh eyes, or bring a younger talent through. So, you know, I think I understand why, from a supporter perspective, I used to probably get more focused on that, but now I'm inside the model, if you like. I actually see it as more of an opportunity than anything else. And I trust Dean and I trust our recruitment that actually, if I look back on most times someone's left, I think most of the time we've been able to bring someone in that I think has strengthened us in one way or another.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, you know, Twitter doesn't help. You see, you know, when there was I don't know the ins and outs, and you haven't got to go into it, but like when there was the apparent freeze on recruitment, and then Jamie signs, and then I read something where you'd actually, it might not be for Jamie, but you'd called different chairman and the PRB or whatever, and actually cleared everything. And people don't see that side of things because they see one person going, Jamie signing for the Dragons amid recruitment freeze, and it's got fucking 1,000 retweets, and all of a sudden every man and his dog has just spread it. And then by the time you look at it 6 hours later, you go, what the fuck has just happened here? Like, what is this story?
But I always think, like, two things, right? One, it's always better to be talked about, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And secondly, you know, when you're building something, you know, you're gonna have to break a few things sometimes, and people are not gonna like it, because, you know, the Dragons has been a bit of a push down team in Wales. It was quite convenient for the other three that they could take the best players, and okay, it was only the old Dragons, and they accepted it. Well, we don't now. We don't accept that, and B, you know, we won't. You know, we'll do what's right by us. I don't apologize. I said at the time, I don't apologize for it. Like, you know, the fact of that story was, I did ring up the other chairman to get permission and dispensation. Of course, they gave it sort of reluctantly, but I suspect in some cases, but they were kind enough to give it, and the PRB supported it, and then we cracked on. And frankly, you know, honestly, if I put stuff out there, that things that I've seen go on, I think that's not right. But I don't. I keep it to myself. I'll say, and if you ask my colleagues in Welsh Rugby, I will call it out in the right forum, privately, and ask for it to be dealt with. In some cases, it's been dealt with. In other cases, not. But that's life. I just move on. And when I see people talking about us, I think, good. That tells me they're a little bit worried, and they fucking well should be, because we're not here just to make up the numbers, right? And that doesn't mean to say I think we have any right to more than they should have, but I definitely don't think we have a right to less than they have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's refreshing to hear it from the horse's mouth for once, rather than actually seeing it on Wales Online or on Twitter.
Yeah, the funny thing is, stuff you say sometimes you see these stories, and I see these stories on Wales Online, and they get it from like social media. I'm like, it's almost presented like it's an interview. Like, it was just a tweet, man. And a lot of things I say sometimes just tongue in cheek. So oh, shit. When you think like actually a story about it, oh no, I was actually joking around. I was actually joking.
What is your relationship like with the press? Because for all of the good things it can do, like, it can be a pain in the ass sometimes as well. You know, you look at the clickbait headlines, for example, around a story, and the story and the headline are very different things, but that's the one that gets the shares and the retweets, and the hate comes from that.
Yeah, you make a good point there, though. I think that's not very well understood. I didn't understand it till I sort of ended up as a sort of public CEO, which is what you understand being in the media, is that often, well, so what's my relationship like? Brilliant. I like Simon Thomas, brilliant guy.
Seems a good guy.
All good, no issue at the journal. The issue is that what you just said is the headline. But the journalists don't write the headline. So a journalist will do a story. If you read the story, it'll be a perfectly sensible, well-balanced sort of, yes, there might be one or two comments you agree or disagree with. But it'll be very reflective of the conversation that was had. But the headline will be, I don't know, Buttress blows up. Because in the media, that's what generates the interest in the stories.
Yeah.
I just see it for what it is, which is, people have got to understand headlines are there to attract the reader, not to be a reflection of what the content of the story is, which is probably quite well balanced. So I just sometimes I see the headlines, think, wow, there's no correlation, or there's a marginal correlation, but you just have to accept.
Yeah.
There's someone who's in professional sport or in business, you have to accept that. You can't moan about it, because on the other hand, it's a very important vehicle for sort of publicizing either your business or your sport. So you can't have it both ways, I'm afraid. I kind of accept it for what it is.
It's a funny old fickle business, this social media malarkey, mate, and sport as well, I suppose. Do you sit there during match day? Like, I've been in the Bisley stand in the suite hospitality, and it's funny, to be fair.
It's a great roast.
Yeah, good roast dinner. It's funny because, again, I've been to some hospitalities in various places, and it can be a bit prawn sandwich sometimes. And I tend to go to the Blues and the Dragons the most, and it's fucking good as gold in both of them, right?
Proper.
It's just real people, and they are fucking builders, whoever they are, and they're, within reason, effing and jeffing, or if there's kids around, the kids are having a good time as well.
Yeah, it's a family, right? There's really a family vibe. It's really good. The food's really good at the Dragons, I have to say.
It is. It was the roast dinners either side of the room, like, so I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you sit and watch the game still as that fan who grew up in Malpas and Cwmbran and in Newport, or do you get edgier now, and does it affect you? Do the losses affect you, or is it's nothing to do with me? That's Dean. I trust him and the vision that we've got. I'll just watch it as a fan.
You know what? I've got better with age. Even before I was an absolute. I can say I was a nightmare.
Yeah.
At the age of about 12, 13, whether it was like Wales or the Dragon, whatever. If honestly, I'll give you an example, right? So I support Everton at football, right? And if Everton lose, I can't watch Match of the Day. I can't watch it. I literally can't watch it.
It's tough for years.
I'm still like that now, right? And I was like that as a kid. I can't even hear it. I can't. And when I played sport as a kid, I was in business the same. I'm very competitive. I think because I had 3 brothers, and it's just, you can imagine. I was 18 months between me and my older brother. We just tried to kill each other constantly and everything. So I'm a nightmare. When Wales play, if we lose, I took my wife, who's English, to Wales, England, when we won the Grand Slam in 2019. No, actually, the best was 2015.
Okay.
World Cup 2015, right?
Yeah.
Now with my wife at home, our little boy's in bed, and when Dan Bigger knocked that penalty over.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, right? My wife's like, you are honestly going to have a heart attack. She goes, you're going to have a heart attack. She goes, this is ridiculous. She goes, I know you're bad. But she goes, I'm walking around the garden. I'm in and out. I'm kicking the wall. I'm like, I'm like, my wife goes, honestly, if I record you, she said, honestly, you'd look like a lunatic. People are like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's a fucking nutter. So I'm not, I used to be terrible. So that wasn't so long ago. But since I got involved with the Dragons, I've calmed down a bit. Of course, I get it. I'm passionate about us winning and stuff. I've actually got a bit better, I think, because I tried to conduct myself in a way that's professional about being a chairman. But don't get me wrong, there are moments where of course, that gets the better of me because I care and I just want us to do well. So that's the joy of sport, isn't it? But
yeah, definitely. Why Everton?
Yeah, so so in 1984, Everton were playing Watford in the FA Cup final, and I'm at my nan's house in T-Box Road in Ponywyd in Cwmbran, and remember the old FA Cup final coverage used to last about 19 hours. So we used to go out at 10 o'clock in the morning. We watched the FA Cup final. There's Everton and Watford are in the tunnel at the old Wembley.
Yeah. I'm
sat next to my brother, and I was 8 years old. My dad goes, right, which teams are you two supporting? Yeah. And I looked at my brother. I thought, I like the ones in blue and white. I like that kit. My dad goes, right, that's Everton. Straight away, my older brother goes, I'm having Watford, because everything was like, we've got to compete with each other.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Everton won that game 2-0. Yes. And that was it. It stuck. And it's like once you have your football team, you can't change. I didn't know where it was in Liverpool or Bristol. But
is he still Watford?
That's the funny thing. What a loser. If my brother's listening to this, what a loser. Because he chose the worst team in the world, right? Worst team in the world was Watford. So he stuck with them for about a year or two. And what a disaster. Then he changed to Liverpool. What a loser. What, just because it's like... Yeah, anyway, so he ended on. My brother's a Newport Company fan, to be fair now, so I give him that. He's a proper supporter. But, it's like once you choose your team, it sticks. So I've been in Everton since.
Hey, they're going all right at the moment. Making some good signings, pal.
Looking good.
They got some good players there. James Rodriguez and a few others.
Yeah,
I like them.
He's a handsome boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is good. Yeah, he's a good-looking man. Fair play to him.
I reckon he's enjoying Liverpool. I would say. I reckon he's pretty popular, but he looks a good player, doesn't he? I think we might need a goalkeeper. After last, we can't.
Pickford.
There's too many mistakes there, I think.
Yeah, I know. What's your plan then? Like, what do you want to? You've got a vision for the Dragons, and whether it's the redevelopment of the Rodney Parade and investment back into the team, make sure they're successful, obviously across the Pro 14, Heineken Champions Cup, whatever that might be. What's your sort of future going to be? Are you there for the long haul? You see it as 15, 20 years, or kind of get it to a point and someone else can then take it on to the next level again?
Yeah, at the moment, I'd say, I don't know, until they kick me out. I love it. And
they're
fed up with me. I see myself there a very long time. It's still there's so much for me to do still. So there's definitely at least the next, until they have enough of me, but definitely the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, I'd love to be involved. And I'd like, actually, the bigger picture for me would be to create a really successful sporting hub in Newport. I'd love to see Newport.
Okay.
My dad's a Newport Company lunatic. My dad's a season older at Newport Company. I'd love us to do a deal with them when we take the club private, which helps them to grow. Really like to do that and create a bit of a sporting hub in Newport. Look how success you have out in Swansea, and the football team and the rugby. You look at Cardiff. Newport's not a small place. Gwent's got a lot of people in it. We should be. I think we underperform as a city in professional sport, and I think lots of reasons for that. But hopefully we can change it over the next few years. I think we need the council to get behind us a bit and give us more support than they currently do to help the sport to thrive. So I definitely have aspirations to do that. And on the sort of professional side, I'll continue to invest in technology companies globally. So I have a small office in London where I do various sort of technology investing a few days a week. So I'll continue to do that. I enjoy it. I like meeting entrepreneurs, try to find some good companies if I can. In them. And then I'll try not, and at a personal level, just try and not fuck up my marriage again. Try and keep everything on track and make sure the kids grow up, sort of in a different environment than when I grew up in. So I'm trying to sort of keep remembering that it's great to have passion for your projects, but everything stops and starts with having a sensible, stable, happy home life. And I haven't got that screwed up once. I don't intend to try. I might. I'm more than capable of messing that up, as history has shown. But I'll try not to.
That's class, fair play. I was going to say, if ever you're bored, pal, you can invest in Catflap chats, and I can get you like a free hat or something like.
Free hat. My bald head, man. I'm a sucker for.
Yeah, I got the old.
Cool.
I'm just getting some made now, mate. They're
looking cool.
You're rock these. I get some socks over. I'll get some stuff sorted. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that's a bit of free merchandise.
Those people, just I'm supposed to finish up on the Dragons and Newport. Those people who are kind of staunch Newport supporters and haven't bought into this Gwent Dragons or Dragons branding and the journey that's going on. Like, where do they fit into the puzzle? You mentioned Newport County just then. If you can get it back private and doing a deal with them, where does Newport sit into that as well?
Yeah, I think Newport RFC. Fit into it in the sense that we want them to, and we've told them this obviously, we want them to stay at Rodney Parade, but I think what we'll have to do is come up with some sort of hybrid where they still play at Rodney Parade, but there's going to have to be some give and takes around how we manage the fixtures and the dates of those fixtures so we can make it work. Because the reality is, 3 teams in one stadium just doesn't work. And I think financially, probably for Newport RFC, it doesn't really work for them either. So I think between us all, there is a good solution. We just post-COVID, whenever we get this period, we just need to get in a room and work that out, and there'll be some give and takes. But I'm very respectful of the history of the ground, so I'm sure we'll find a solution. I think on the supporter side, I just ask people to give us a chance and say, look, I understand the history, but and for those that don't want to, fair enough. But but also if you don't want to, that's fine. But then please respect that there's lots of people that do, me included. And I just want to build the best possible professional sports rugby team that I can for the area. And if you want to come and get behind it, fantastic. And if you don't, then fair enough. But don't try and get in the way of it, because I think there's a much bigger picture here, which is, if I look at the pleasure my kids get out of supporting the Dragons, and if I look at, you see the tops, you see the tops now, this younger generation don't associate with a lot of the stuff that there's angst on social media from the sort of older generation of rugby supporters, sort of my age and upwards. The younger generation have only ever known regional rugby. So while we should make improvements and make sure that the product is right, because there are things that need to change to make the product better, at the same time, we shouldn't get too stuck in all the stuff from the past. So I just say give us a chance, because we're only trying to do our best to build the best rugby team we can. That's all we're trying to do in the end.
And I love it. I love how candid and open you've been about it. And like I said, we come down there a couple of times a season. I enjoy it down there. I like standing out in the grandstand as well, where it's the Wild West, that people are going berserk. Like, I find stuff like that good, and that's
Rodney
to me.
A proper old-fashioned stadium, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've fallen in a bit in love with Rodney Parade when I sort of, because I grew up as a Pontypool fan, so I'd go up the park with my granddad. So,
okay.
But yeah, I have to say, Rodney Parade's got something about it. It's like, it's one of those sort of old proper stadiums. It's got a bit of a. You get a few thousand people in there, and it sounds like it's 50,000. It's one of those. Yeah. One of those. It's like brilliant.
Yeah. And I suppose if you guys can redevelop then that cabbage patch bit and come to all the right arrangements, there'll be people using that all week round, different nights of the week for whatever functions, gym, whatever. Help performance. More people will come, and it's a bit of a circle then for sponsors, supporters, owners. Everyone will just start having a bit of a better time and enjoying it more.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. And I just want to have one of those like really big Bond villain style chairman's offices overlooking, like with a big fish tank. Maybe with a shark in or something like that. Maybe not.
Like a cat just stroking it, like.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm letting my fantasies get the better of me there. We just want to create a hub in the city centre. We're lucky, right? The location, it's a bit like Cardiff's ground. What I love about the rugby stadium, Cardiff, and whether it's the Blues or Cardiff Blues or the National Stadium or Rodney Parade, is they're brilliant. They're in a city centre. It's just the best.
Yeah.
You go with your mates or you take your partner. Amount of times I've just rolled out this, whether it's the Cardiff Blues Stadium or the Millennium Stadium or Principality, whatever. It's just you're just there, aren't you? It's just. And Newport Rodney Parade's the same. It's great. It's great to have these stadiums that are in city centres, and we've just got to make them really attractive places for more people to come to, because it is a great day out. It really is. It's good. It's really good.
I agree.
If you get bitten by it, it's quite addictive.
Definitely, mate. Look, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to say?
No, I think we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? I really enjoyed it. It's been, it's great to talk, because like you say, the hard thing to do sometimes, especially sort of in conventional media, is to get a sense of things over, which is where, doing what you do is really good, because it does give a chance to actually it feels like, it's like you're in a pub talking to a mate, as opposed to you're in a formal sort of interview setting. So I think it does work better, doesn't it?
And that's what we try and do, I suppose. I wanted to try and get your personality across, and thankfully you've been so open and honest. So I really appreciate that. I just want to say a big thanks to Tiny Rebel Brewery. They give us a couple of beers every episode, so thank you to them and the guys down there. Always appreciated. A big thanks to everyone that subscribes, downloads, rates and reviews, whether it's good or bad. We'll take all the feedback on board. If it's really nasty, I'll probably tell you to fuck off anyway. But thanks everyone for the support. Check out the website. That should be here, there or thereabouts when this goes live, and some merch and stuff. Biggest thank you to Mr. David Buttress. It's been fascinating to have you on, pal. I wish more sports figures were as open and candid as you are without the political bullshit, mate.
My pleasure, mate.
It's refreshing. So thank you very much. All right. Look after yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Take care, mate. Be well. See you.
And you. Thanks, David. Take care.
Take care, mate.